Imagine a bus ride. Long, boring hours and an endless journey. The biggest complaint of passengers is not the length of time. The monotony of travel. As Rory Sutherland explains in The Simulacrum of Creativity, one bus company is taking a different tack to solve this fundamental problem for its passengers. Adding Wi-Fi to buses. This simple but effective move is radically changing the way travelers perceive travel. Time is no longer an issue for travelers who lose track of time as they get lost in the endless world of the internet. This example emphasizes the central thesis of Sutherland's book. Human behavior and decision-making processes cannot always be explained by logic and data analysis. Sometimes the most effective solutions come from creative approaches that may seem irrational, but that speak deeply to human psychology. So, who is Rory Sutherland? And why does he have a say in this? Sutherland is a leading figure in the world of advertising and an expert who has spent years studying human psychology and marketing strategies. How is it that working hard doesn't always mean working smart? Or have you ever thought about how the words used in an advertisement can affect people so deeply? How a small change can radically alter perceptions? More importantly, how can understanding the psychology behind people's decisions give us an advantage in our business and personal lives? The answers to these questions are hidden in this book. This book starts from a simple story of adding Wi-Fi and takes us on an in-depth journey into how it affects our shopping habits, our productivity at work, and even our daily decisions. I would like to share with you 7 important takeaways from this book. Human behavior cannot always be explained by logic. In everyday life we often think that we make decisions based on logic and reasoning. But is that really the case? People make complex and sometimes irrational choices. Especially when shopping, our emotions and psychology play an important role. Even the choice of toothpaste, for example, can be emotional. There's actually no difference between toothpaste with and without stripes. But people usually prefer the striped ones. Because it makes them feel better for some reason. It's a behavior that can't be fully explained by logic. Rory Sutherland says that similar situations exist in the world of work. In America, employers often think that longer working hours mean more productivity. So there is a perception that employees who take less vacation are more productive. But Sutherland argues in his book that this thinking is wrong, and that in fact rested workers are more creative and productive. In countries like Germany and France, workers take more vacations and their economies are thriving. This shows that long working hours alone are not related to productivity. Several countries, including Ireland, Spain and the UK, have tested the 4-day working week with very positive results. Most recently, Germany has decided to join them. These examples show that we need to question the way we think about human behavior and productivity. The most important lesson of this book is that it is important to understand human psychology and patterns of behavior that sometimes seem irrational. Thinking outside the box can pave the way to success. To achieve great success in business, it is not always necessary to pursue big ideas. Sometimes very small changes lead to big results. Change the details and each change is likely to have a profound butterfly effect. For example, the author recently observed how a publisher doubled sales by adding just 4 words to a phone sales pitch. It may be surprising to see such a big success with such a small change. But it proves how effective attention to detail can be. For businesses, details can be just as useful when it comes to better understanding customers. That's exactly what J.H. Spool, the creator of the $300 million button, did. Spool realized that a lot of people using Best Buy's website were tired of signing up when they shopped. They were afraid that by signing up, the company would send them too many ads. This was causing many people to get frustrated and stop shopping. At Spool's suggestion, the site's creators made a change. They replaced the sign up button with continue. And they added a note that you don't need to be a member to shop, just press continue to proceed to checkout. The result? The number of customers making purchases increased by 45%, which meant an extra $15 million in revenue in the first month alone. On an individual level, small changes in your life can lead to big results in the same way. Most people don't realize it, but this technique is really effective. For example, if you suffer from not waking up early, what you do is you set an alarm. If you complain that you have to turn it off in the morning and therefore you can't wake up early again, you should put your alarm or your phone somewhere far away in your room. So you will have to wake up to turn off the alarm. And you will be productive in the free time you will have while your competitors are asleep. And what happens when you repeat this over a long period of time is an extraordinary competitive advantage. Facts. Perceptions. People perceive the world in different ways. One person may complain that a room is too hot, while the person next to them may claim that it is too cold. Psychologists refer to this as psychophysics. Let's illustrate this point with an example. A few years ago, the British chocolate company Cadbury's received a flood of complaints from customers who claimed that their beloved dairy milk bars didn't taste the same. At first the company was baffled. They hadn't changed their formula for years. But what they did do was change the shape of the chocolate. This gave customers the illusion that the taste of the product had also changed. Let's look at a more interesting story. In 1985, Coca-Cola made a marketing blunder known as the New Coke crisis. It started when Coca-Cola started losing market share to Pepsi and felt the need to innovate in response to changes in consumer preferences. Coca-Cola conducted extensive research and taste tests to understand consumer preferences for taste. As a result of these tests, many consumers preferred the taste of a newly formulated Coca-Cola. Based on these findings, the company decided to change the original formula and launch a new product called New Coke. On April 23, 1985, Coca-Cola saturated New Coke, the replacement for the original formula, with a major media event. However, this change caused great disappointment and anger among consumers. Many felt that Coca-Cola was interfering with their personal memories and iconic status in American culture. The backlash against New Coke was so strong that the company's customer service lines were flooded with complaints. Campaigns were organized to bring back the original Coca-Cola. In response to the public outcry, Coca-Cola announced on July 10, 1985, just 79 days after the launch of New Coke, that the original formula would return under the name Coca-Cola Classic. It is often studied in the business world as a lesson in brand loyalty, consumer response and marketing strategies. Coca-Cola's experience is seen as a reminder that companies should carefully consider consumers' emotional attachments and brand loyalty before making radical changes. In short, nothing about human perception is completely objective, and even the smallest, most insignificant things can affect the way we see the world. The General Mills Food Company discovered this in the 1950s when it launched the new Betty Crocker brand of DIY cake mix. Each box contained a packet of dry ingredients with milk and eggs. All the consumer had to do was add water to the mix, line a cake pan and pop it all in the oven. Interestingly, this resulted in the product selling less than expected. To understand why, General Mills commissioned a team of psychologists who concluded that consumers thought that cooking with the Betty Crocker mix was too easy. For housewives looking to impress with their culinary skills, this seemed like cheating. With this realization, General Mills put on its thinking cap. It realized that if the cooking process was too easy, it needed to be made less easy. To this end, the mix was changed and a single step was added to the process. Add an egg. When the company relaunched the product, they wrote on the box to add only one egg. And the result? Sales skyrocketed. There is no such thing as an average consumer. Everyone is different and there is no such thing as an average person. Even when you go shopping, you won't find that everyone likes the same product or buys the same thing. That's why companies trying to make one product for everyone often doesn't work. In the 1950s in America, airplane cockpits were designed for people of average size. But a study actually showed that none of the 4,000 pilots fit exactly into these average dimensions. So there really wasn't an average person, and this meant that the designs didn't suit everyone. In the late 1950s, Ford launched the Edsel. This car was designed after extensive market research to meet the needs of the average American consumer. But the Edsel turned out to be one of the biggest product failures in history. Ford thought it understood what consumers wanted, but in fact it failed to appeal specifically to any consumer group by appealing to the average consumer. The failure of the Edsel is a concrete example that the idea of the average consumer doesn't always work in practice. These examples show us that people are different and each one has different tastes, needs and preferences. So whether it's product design or service delivery, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Businesses and designers need to understand this diversity and offer solutions to suit everyone's needs. Although the book gives examples of businesses and brands, it is also possible to think about this on an individual basis. By recognizing that people are different, you can show more empathy and understanding in your relationships. For example, when we talk to people, we can think about what they like and dislike, what they like and what they care about. Everyone is different. So instead of treating everyone in the same way, we can adopt a personalized approach. For example, some of your friends may like serious conversations while others prefer to joke and have fun. When talking to them, it is important to consider what kind of communication style they prefer. Before talking to someone, pay attention to their past experiences, interests and emotional state. For example, if a friend is upset, plan how you will approach him, her and what you will say, thinking about his/her feelings. Or if you are talking to someone who is very knowledgeable about a topic, you can ask questions that respect their knowledge and can expand it further. In this way, it is possible to communicate with people in a more meaningful and effective way. Showing that you care and understand the other person strengthens relationships and leads to more intimate conversations. In these examples, we have looked at things from the perspective of others. From our own perspective, it is important to live according to your own standards, not others' definitions of happiness or success. We need to find our own unique measure of success or happiness and act according to it, not the one imposed on us. Surprising details, unforgettable messages. What would you think if someone told you that commercials with animals are more successful than those without? The idea may seem absurd at first. Most of us wouldn't think that ads featuring animals or absurd ads would impress us more. But the truth is that we do. The MGM movie studio uses the logo of a roaring lion at the beginning of their movies. This lion reinforces MGM's powerful and royalist image in the movie industry. Before X, Twitter used the blue bird logo. This bird symbolizes fast and easy communication and shows how Twitter has established itself as a social media platform. Coca-Cola aims to create a warm and friendly family atmosphere by using white polar bears during the winter months, especially during Christmas. These cute bears aim to convey the brand's message of friendship and happiness. To give an example through absurd advertising, Nike used the space theme to promote its Munchu sneakers. The shoe was inspired by astronaut suits, and the ads emphasized a light and comfortable experience, as if walking on the moon with astronauts and spaceships. This idea set the shoe apart from the ordinary and reinforced Nike's innovative image. The author recently learned that there were only 67,000 entries in a promotional sweepstake organized by a client, with a prize of £1,000 worth of free household electricity for a year. On the other hand, a competition for a £15 penguin night light attracted 360,000 entries. We usually immediately accept ideas that we think, yes, that makes sense, but we throw away ideas that we think are ridiculous. But these ideas that we find ridiculous can actually be great ideas. If we always stick to the logical things, we miss out on a lot of really great ideas. If we really want to make a mark on society or make a big change, then going for the logical things all the time may not get us very far. We may need to say or do things that are a little bit weird, a little bit absurd, if we want to make a really impactful and memorable message. A multifaceted approach. It is necessary to use different methods to solve problems. In life we encounter unexpected events, false starts, and sometimes dead ends. Not everything is clear and sequential. Reality is not as logical as we think. So we need to be able to look at problems from many angles, not just one. Imagine that when detectives investigate a crime they have to consider many possibilities of what, why and how it happened. The worst thing is when everyone focuses on the same false assumption and this leads the investigation in the wrong direction. For businesses trying to solve customer problems, it is best to approach the issue of perception from a psychological perspective. After all, it is much easier and more cost-effective to change a consumer's perception of something than to change the thing itself. A train company realizes that the cost of reducing the travel time of trains by 20% is too high. This could require major investments such as laying new tracks, buying faster trains or upgrading infrastructure, costing millions of pounds. Instead, they look for less costly solutions to improve the journey experience. The company decides to offer free Wi-Fi on trains. This service allows passengers to access the internet, run errands, watch movies or spend time on social media during the journey. This small change significantly altered how passengers perceive their journey time. Instead of seeing the train journey as boring and a waste of time, passengers now see it as an opportunity to use this time in a productive or fun way. As a result, even if the arrival time of the train does not change, the travel experience becomes more positive. Passengers are satisfied with the service and perhaps realize that the amenities offered during the journey are more important to them than the speed. This strategy allows the business to keep costs low while increasing customer satisfaction. An airport operator realizes that passengers complain about long waits to check in their luggage. Instead of reducing the actual waiting time of passengers, the airport management moves the baggage claim line further away from the arrival gates. Thus, passengers spend more time walking to the baggage carousel and the time they actually wait for their luggage is indirectly reduced. The passenger's perception has changed from a long waiting time to a more positive experience of how time passes during the walk. Some restaurants offer free bread baskets to the table to make it more pleasant for customers to have to wait for their food to be prepared, or in Turkey it is often appetizers that are offered before the meal. While this does not physically shorten the preparation time of the food, it makes the waiting time less uncomfortable for customers. In customers' perception, waiting time becomes a less boring and more acceptable experience. Once Uber realized what really bothered customers, a clever technological solution based on a psychological understanding would evolve. What bothered customers was not the wait for the taxi to arrive, but the uncertainty about how long the wait would last. Uber's solution, an in-app map showing where the driver is, may not reduce the waiting time, but it certainly makes the experience less uncomfortable. We don't know how many solutions Uber's designers considered to arrive at this successful solution, but they certainly considered several possibilities along the way. Their response to the human problem before them was based on what the author calls a psychological juggling act. We will examine this more closely in the next chapter. Sometimes the most illogical ideas can be the best ones. When we look at some of the world's most revolutionary discoveries, such as gravity, penicillin, and the microwave oven, we see that many of them happened by chance. In other cases, discoveries were made by researchers testing outlandish ideas that didn't initially make sense. The world's most successful entrepreneurs know what it means to pursue unconventional ideas and take risks. After all, to be an entrepreneur, you have to be comfortable pushing the boundaries of conventional logic. An idea that seems completely absurd could be the answer you've been looking for. It is these entrepreneurial qualities that have contributed to the creation of many of today's most successful businesses. Steve Jobs and Apple's launch of the iPhone or Henry Ford's automobile revolution with the Model T are important perspectives on customer needs. Henry Ford famously said that if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have jumped faster. Similarly, Steve Jobs said that customers don't know what they want until he shows them. People often think of solutions to improve their current situation. But they have a hard time imagining innovations that will truly revolutionize. Apple's current Vision Pro product is an attempt at vertical progress. Finally, logic may not always apply when it comes to human behavior. Some problems simply resist logic. We may therefore need to try a different way to solve them. We can find the most creative solutions if we go beyond our habitual thinking and consider seemingly illogical ideas. Sometimes it is important to ask the dumbest questions. Most people are afraid to share their weird ideas for fear of appearing smart. But clever solutions sometimes involve proposing outlandish ideas. If there was an obvious answer to the problem you were trying to solve, you probably would have found it already. In a meeting, an idea that everyone agrees on but doesn't actually work may need to be replaced by asking what if we did it in a completely different way. This may seem absurd at first, but it can open the door to a brand new and effective solution. The key to real innovation and revolutionary solutions is to dare to think out of the box and think outside the box. Because the most enlightening ideas can often be hidden in the most unexpected places, perhaps in the answers to the silliest questions.